Hey, alright, so today we're going to go watch Revenge of the Sith in theaters, which is crazy that I'm saying that out loud. We are so excited. I'm so excited. Star Wars has meant so much to me growing up. I love Star Wars. It's made me who I am today, and it's, a day like this is bringing up a lot of emotions and thoughts. I could say Chewbacca before I could say Mom. That's how much Star Wars means to me. I would love just saying all the characters' names and
Anakin Skywalker, Qui-Gon, Master Yoda, Luke Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Darth Vader, Princess Leia, Han Solo, Chewbacca, General Grievous, Darth Maul, Darth Sidious, Qui-Gon, and Queen Amidala.
playing with my little figurines that my dad passed down onto me. And again, playing with lightsabers like these. I had this one, which is my Anakin lightsaber. I know they had different colors at the time too, but my parents got me a blue one so that it matched, Anakin's. And then I also got this one, which technically this is Qui-Gon's lightsaber, but it's a red blade. So these two guys right here, these guys were my lightsabers growing up. I would play with them so much to the point where you could see all the battle scars there. But yeah, I mean, this was it, man. I would love watching the prequels over and over again. I would rewatch them constantly. Mainly Phantom Menace and Revenge of the Sith. Attack of the Clones, I didn't own. We didn't have that one. So anytime we go to the library and my mom would, we'd rent out books, I'd always go to the movie section and beg her, like, Mom, can you please rent Attack of the Clones again, constantly, every time. And those movies, again, they made me who I am. They inspired me. I just loved all of it, and specifically Anakin. So anyway, all of that to say that today is bringing up a lot of emotions, obviously, thoughts, nostalgia, but also reflections and lessons that I'm learning today, thinking about this movie, going into it, and lessons that I believe we couldn't have learned back then, 20 years ago when it came out. Things that are now settling in today that we can ponder on 20 years after the release. Now that we've had the Clone Wars come out and we've had so much of these different layers and depth and backstory added to Anakin. It's something that a lot of the fans, when it first came out, wanted to see. I was still a toddler when the movie came out, but, my dad very vividly explained to me what that was like going to watch these movies. And again, these are the movies I grew up with. So anyway, we're going to unpack all that, what these movies meant to people, and what it means to me. It's just a very, very exciting day to be watching Revenge of the Sith in theaters. So let's start with talking about Anakin. Anakin was my absolute favorite growing up. I mean, my connection with him, I just always loved him. His fighting style, his outfit, his tenacity, just something about Anakin. I was always drawn to it as a kid. Obviously, he's flawed, but as a child, as a toddler, I just projected myself onto young Anakin, specifically in Phantom Menace. The Duel of the Fates, that battle with Obi-Wan, Darth Maul, and Qui-Gon had a deep, profound impact on me. Again, as a toddler, I was fully immersed from the scale, the stakes, the tension, all of it. I'd reenact it multiple times with my dad in our living room. And that's really what triggered and started that whole journey for me, my love for film and filmmaking, movie making, and acting. Really, with that scene and being able to, play out that sequence again in my living room. It just was a core memory to this day. I still remember that. My dad on the floor, and in that moment, as I reenacted it, I was Obi-Wan, avenging my master. I fully believed it. I was there every single time. And so that's really, really special to think about and look back on. Even as a 3-year-old, I felt every emotion in that scene. And I do believe that somewhere deep down, even though I was a kid, I knew that that battle would determine the fate of my favorite character, of Anakin. So, I'll be honest, growing up, it was hard for me to watch the Order 66 scenes. And, the battle on Mustafar with Obi-Wan and Anakin. It's just hard for me as a kid to see my favorite character turn to the dark side. That was hard to live with, to sit with. I knew he became Darth Vader, but as a kid, it was hard to witness that. Now, being a grown up, being a full adult now, I know the importance of those scenes. And now I can appreciate those scenes because, one, I know that they're necessary. They're necessary for the entire story, and that it's not the end. It's not the end of the story. The story continues, and Anakin is eventually redeemed by his son, by Luke. And so, growing up, experiencing all of that, has truly been beautiful, and I can fully see the full scale of the story. And it's also why Return of the Jedi is my favorite Star Wars movie. The beauty of that movie, and seeing, again, Luke redeem Anakin. And that in the end, my favorite character, Anakin, was saved. It's just such a wonderful, wonderful thing. And also makes me feel good about continuing to like Anakin, because there's a lot of good in him, So I still, regardless of the dark side and all that stuff that he goes through, there's still good in him, as Luke would say. So that's, what Anakin means to me. He's such a special character. I learned a lot from Anakin too, his pride, his courage, his fear, right? There's a lot of fear in him, and how fear can be a poison, right? It can be a poison in our lives, and the grave danger that it can be for us to be blinded by fear. So, I've learned a lot from Anakin over the years, being from a 3-year-old to, again, an adult, just learning from him. That's the beauty of characters like these, of stories like these, is you go back to them as we grow up and during the seasons of our lives, and we learn something new. And that's, learning a lot today as well. So now, here we are, 20 years later, celebrating the 20th anniversary of Revenge of the Sith, and we're gonna be able to watch it in theaters. It's been quite an interesting journey with the prequels, hasn't it? I mean, there were a lot of people that didn't like the prequels, a lot of them. And I'm not just talking like casually disliking them. They hated on these movies. A lot of unnecessary hating. They hated on people like Ahmed Best, who played Jar Jar Binks. They hated on Jake Lloyd, who played young Anakin, and then Hayden Christensen. Among other people, other things in the movies. I mean, these movies just, again, were nitpicked at and just hated on in ridiculous ways. It's honestly quite pathetic to think about how evil we can be to each other, especially when it comes to movies, and in this case. And the reality is that most likely was rooted from a place of just deep envy from creating something this awesome. The reality is that prequels were made for kids in the same way that the originals were.
I guess you guys aren't ready for that yet, but your kids are gonna love it.
Kids like me, and kids like you. I'm sure you were a kid at one point that loved Star Wars, if you're watching this video. And people didn't like Jar Jar the same way that people didn't like 3PO or the Ewoks. There are a lot of people that had issues with the Ewoks, thought they were too cute, or 3PO, that he was just constantly in the way and super annoying. And it wasn't until later that people grew to appreciate them. So it's the same thing with Jar Jar and the prequels. A lot of the fans that grew up with the prequels, including me, again, we love Jar Jar, and we continue to share our love for these movies, for episodes 1 through 3. They're extremely special. As flawed as they may be in some aspects, right? Everyone can have their own opinions. They still mean a lot to a lot of people. And it's funny because George Lucas, he knew that this would happen. He knew that it would take 20 years for this to happen, for people to kind of realize, the gift of these movies. We recently saw the second season of Light and Magic, the documentary on Disney Plus, which if you haven't seen yet, you definitely should check it out. It's fantastic, super inspiring. We highly recommend. This isn't a sponsored ad or plug-in. It's just that great. So again, if you appreciate the visual effects development over the past few decades and the behind-the-scenes look, you will definitely appreciate this documentary. But in there's a moment, especially the second season, they really go into the prequels, and there's a part where George Lucas straight up says exactly what I just said now. He said, give him 20 years.
And George had said, I guarantee that later in life, 10, 20 years down the road, kids who are 10 now are gonna come up to you and tell you that Jar Jar is their favorite character.
He would say things like, 20 years from now, it's gonna be completely different.
And he's right. It's happened.
And here we are. I mean, he saw the future. He saw where he was going. I mean, that's really how you can fully get that sense of the visionary that he was. The fact that he said, screw it, to everyone that didn't believe in his vision and what they were doing. I learned a lot from that. To be able to, go watch this movie in theaters is super nostalgic. It's exciting, and it's stepping back in time. It's beyond thrilling, and I can't wait. So here we go. All right, so we just got out of the theater watching Revenge of the Sith, and I don't even know what word to describe my feeling right now. There's a lot of feelings going on. The biggest one is gratitude, but before I get into my thoughts, I would love to have the family, I'd love for you guys to share your thoughts. So how are you guys feeling coming out of this?
Man, blown away. There's a lot of details I don't remember or really I feel like I paid attention to in the past that just really stood out this time. Paid attention to a lot of music details too that I didn't see before. It was just overall beautiful. I found myself very emotionally connected, a lot more than I've ever been It was a wonderful, just fantastic experience. Yeah, that was me.
Yeah, and to see the tragedy play out the way it did on the big screen and be able to take in all the details, that was quite powerful. You just get to appreciate all of the details more. And I think we also got to watch ILM on Disney Plus. So I was able to appreciate a lot of those special effects and things that went into putting this movie together. And then to top it all off, I think reliving mostly you, Matthew. Like, there's so many scenes in this movie that bring me back to just when the kids were little and growing up with these movies, this movie specifically playing all the time. You know, I just found myself reminiscing a lot on the memories that have been made throughout these kids' lives with Star Wars and specifically with this movie. So grateful, like you said.
All right, I remain, but the boys emerge. Wow. All right, Dad, what were your thoughts? How are you feeling after watching Revenge of the Sith in theaters for the 20th anniversary?
So leading up to today, I was just kind of neutral about the opportunity to see this because there's a lot going on in life. And then ultimately, sorry, somebody's parking. And ultimately, I was like, I've seen this movie a lot of times. I'm going to be a lot more open to it emotionally. So today was a good day to just get ready for it, to really remember what I'd experienced with the family, watching Clone Wars, watching everything that happens in between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. And now that I have all that experience through Anakin's eyes, this hit different today. And at first I thought it would be because of all that. But earlier today, I got to see some of the unedited version of your intro to this video, and it broke me. It broke me in the sense that it's doing it again. In the sense that, the fact that you love Return of the Jedi as much as I do, and even as a kid, I didn't understand why, but this movie always left me with a sense of, I just want to watch Return of the Jedi now because I want to experience Luke saving his dad, And it's just, today is allowing the tragedy to be what it is and to go through the motions and see all the details. This is the ultimate cautionary detail. I primarily want to focus on one element and then I'll pass it on. There's the scene with Yoda and Anakin when Anakin goes to him after this premonition, this dream he's having. And Yoda tells him very, very clearly, you must let go. You must learn the art of letting go, of detachment. It is the vital thing to do, and none of us want to do that. It's way too hard. We're all too afraid. This film, this story of Anakin's, is the ultimate cautionary tale, and it is something that will stand the test of time because it is a human universal struggle. Mm-hmm. We all have a problem letting go of the things we love, of the people we love most. Yeah. So here I am, receiving brand new and also just very powerful reminders in the themes of this very, very powerful and now clearly very successful re-release of Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, at the time of recording this, it's made over $20 million in the past 3 days. So it's clearly doing well. I think it's second in the box office after Sinners, which we're very happy is still number one in the box office. But yes, anyway, Josh, what are you feeling, man?
I mean, I feel like I don't feel like it's the truth. I am the youngest of our family, and I definitely find it that it's one of those things where seeing this in the theaters is not even something I had imagined being possible. I mean, given that, companies have been re-releasing things to make a profit off of their property, the things that they own, now it felt more like a time for them to be able to do something like this. But I hadn't dreamed of this being a reality, and also the impact that it would have, given that I've already seen it, and that I already know what happens. But that's not the point. The point is the steps to get there. It's not just Anakin's good, Anakin's bad. There's things that lead up to it, and it doesn't just happen. So to be able to experience that, to feel that musically, especially, John Williams is masterful. We know this. But truly seeing a lot of the strings he ties to the original 3 films, it gives a lot of hope. And I honestly feel like at the time of this coming out, people were very focused on the visuals, understandably so. It's very shocking, all of the CGI and just the scale of all of it. But if you really listen to everything that's going on, there's musical hope that it leaves you with. And hats off to Yoda, my favorite character.
Yeah.
It's done. Like, he is my favorite Star Wars character. You could talk to me all day, and I would remain in that opinion. And it's because he's someone that's so small and yet so wise. Someone that may seem small, but he has an equal amount, even in a greater amount, to stand up to darkness, because he is underestimated because of just the force that he brings with this tiny size. It's wonderful. So just hats off to John Williams. Love the music, learning a lot from it. Love Yoda, and what a blessing to see this in the theaters. Yeah. Those are my thoughts.
So after all that, after watching Revenge of the Sith in theaters for the 20th anniversary, I am reminded of why I fell in love with movies in the first place, why I love films, why I love acting, why I love all of this. And what is Revenge of the Sith teaching me now, today? It's teaching me a lot, but it boils down to these three things. One, to be passionate about the things I love, to believe in the impossible, and to be resilient, and the power of resilience in the face of ridicule and rejection. If George Lucas stopped after episode 1 and all the crap that people gave him, we never would have gotten episode 3. We wouldn't have gotten episode 2, the Clone Wars. I mean, there's a lot of Star Wars we wouldn't have today if George Lucas just decided to, tap out after all of that. But he saw it. He saw the vision. He stuck to it. And his resilience has given us this opportunity today to watch this movie in theaters. So that's a huge gift. At the end of the day, when you put all the space and sci-fi stuff to the side, this is all about relationships and characters and the story. Where's the love? Where's the drive? It's all in this movie. The art of storytelling is truly an art. It's a craft. It's not to be taken lightly, not to be underestimated. I think it's evident in the time today the movie's being told, and I think we're slowly making our way back to bolder and more original storytelling, which is exciting. It's a very exciting time to be an artist and to be a movie goer, to go watch movies. There's a sense of wanting to go back to when Revenge of the Sith came out, to experience it when it first came out. And today just gave us a glimpse of that. But again, if anything, it's teaching me to be as present as I can right now, today, in this moment, as I got to watch it with my family. Because just like anything, life continues on. Time will pass, and it'll just go on to the next thing, right? Continue to cycle on. It was Revenge of the Sith, then we moved on, people forgot about them, then the sequels came out, the sequels happened, we moved on, and that's how it goes. That's how life is. And so how can we keep being present in each moment? Instead of always eagerly anticipating what could potentially be next, like Anakin did, that's ultimately what made him fall to the dark side, is his preoccupation with the future and the past, too, with losing his mom and potentially losing Padme. All of that, and the fear and wanting to take control of that, that's what made him fall to the dark side. So instead of doing what Anakin did, we can focus right now on the present, in the present moment, how we can live right here in this moment. You take in a day like today, and at the end of the day, it comes down to the people that we experience these movies with, not necessarily the movie itself, but how those movies impacted us and who we were with when we experienced it for the first time. We've been blessed with some fantastic memories more recently with, the cinematic events like Endgame and movies like Avatar, amongst other ones. But, those are the ones that are sticking out to me today, that looking back, I will look at a day like today and just think about the blessing it was to watch it with my family, watch it with our friends, And then there's the reality that there's people that are watching this movie today that are having to watch it alone. They watched it originally with family members that are either no longer with us or they don't have a relationship with anymore, and that's sad. And that's life. Life continues on. So that's why I don't take today for granted. It's definitely a huge blessing to sit in that reality. So again, this moment is not to be taken for granted. It's been a massive blessing to be able to watch Revenge of the Sith in theaters with my family. And yeah, man, God, now it's just about living out my gratitude for this moment, for these movies, through action, through my artistry, through the way I live my life, and just continuing to love on Star Wars, God knows how much I would love to help tell a Star Wars story someday. That'd be fantastic. That'd be truly a dream come true. Wouldn't that be something? I think little Matthew, was twirling his Anakin lightsaber around, would be thrilled for that to be a reality. Luke looked out to the twin suns on Tatooine, just dreaming to be a pilot. And eventually he became a pilot. And not only that, but he became a Jedi. And he saved his dad. So, I would say anything's possible. Who knows?